How's it going, guys? Anfield here. Welcome back to a new video. Today's video we're going to be looking at some initial shots of damage you can get in some maps in World of Tanks. I mean, this isn't all of them, but this is mostly the main ones, at least the ones where you can get a couple shots and not just one occasional shot if you're lucky. So here we have Fisherman's Bay, and yeah, do a little bit of a spot here and you can usually detect these guys. It works best from this side. You do have to be careful though, because the enemy can counter with their own mediums here, meaning you get lit or YOLO'd by some other tanks. If you're in a bad shot and there's a T-49, yeah, it's not going to be a fun time. You can see here I'm just getting away from this bush so that I have maximum levels of camo. Pull forward again just to do another spot before pulling back away from the bush so that it's giving me max camo again. So yeah, this spot's pretty good. Allows you to get some initial damage, and also if your artillery is quick loading and in a position quite early, they can also hit these guys for you. So yeah, you can see where my allies are. They were in a position to do damage rather than in the actual spotting push. But this is Lakeville, and basically you could just go middle road for some shots worth of damage. This is a bush that you can use if you want to spot yourself, whether you're in a bat or a medium or in a light tank. This bush is really far back though, and you only really spot the wider people, but it's a lot safer than, because if you go further forward, you can be lit from someone going to that bush, actually near where my reticle is now. If a light tank goes there, they can catch you and spot you, and they can turn the shots around on you, and you can get wrecked instead. So I'm going to show you that spot now. It's a bit more risky for that reason that I just explained, but it does allow you to get some more spots. But again, for your allies, you just sit back in the middle road, and if you have someone spotting this for you, you can get lots of shots. Alternatively, you could go here in a medium as well. That's not a bad shot. Just a general medium ready for some damage, a 50B even. 50B is probably a bit too tall, but most mediums are fine to go into the middle by this rock. It's a lot safer from this side. The rock is a lot closer to this side than the other side, so you can pretty much guarantee you're going to win it. But yeah, otherwise it's a bit too risky. So just got to be careful with light tanks that might YOLO through the mid or into that little bush. So this is obviously Mountain Pass, and this rock here is advanced. You can sit here in a tank with decent camo and spot tanks that are crossing over here and not get lit yourself unless an enemy tank YOLOs across the middle. I wouldn't personally recommend ever going across the middle, but yeah. So I'm just firing here for the meme mostly, but yeah, you just have to sit back there. If an ally is spotting that for you, you can shoot them. So this is Cliff, and you can come into the middle here and actually basically shoot heavy tanks and other tanks moving up towards the lighthouse from the north spawn. So this requires usually some cooperation from your allies or from a platoon mate, because if you try to do this solo, you could be rushed and YOLO'd from an enemy counter push, which you will need tanks to defend against. So you can see here, you light up these guys. Most tanks can do this. You don't need to be in a bat shed or anything. You can just sit here and just snipe these guys. It doesn't require any amazing levels of spotting. Or any advanced spotting to detect those guys. So this is on Redshire. Now I'm doing the spotting run, but you can see that my guys are already on the hill, so that's where you would be for the initial damage. You sort of sit on the back of the hill there, and you can see I'm just going to go up to this tree and wait for some targets to pop up. The only thing is, if you notice someone doing this kind of spotting run, you just need to be aware that you won't spot anything until they come more towards the 9 line. Whereas if you have a light tank or something that YOLOs over, you might catch them before they get to the 9 line. So yeah, you have to wait till the enemies get into this little dip here. There's a gap that that it's not safe from the hill, and then they can be shot from there. So yeah, you could do the spotting run if you want as well instead. You get lots of assisted damage usually doing it. You just have to be a little bit careful how you do it. So this is Sand River, and you can go to the middle here and spot them as they're running over towards the K line. You don't actually need a spotter to do this. You just generally sit in the middle of the ramp and just farm them. You're probably going to get lit, but you should be mostly safe. You just have to be a little bit cautious. But yeah, you can sort of sit over there and farm them. It doesn't require the spotting run that I just did. The only reason I did that spotting run was just to see, I guess, how quickly I could spot them. You maybe could pick up something else that's more interesting, like an artillery early on, maybe, but require a really risky run, so you just have to be careful. But in general, you would just sit where these guys are sitting on the ramp. So this is just showing you that if you have allies over there and you're spotting these guys that push through the mid, which is really common now. People really like to go down to this middle area, and it does mean that you can basically get them being farmed from there. So this is from the other side, and you basically just run up. You can do a spotting run if you want. Again, you don't really need to actually do the spots. You can see them from the ramp, so you don't actually have to do any kind of spotting run or rely on any kind of spotting run. You just sit on the ramp and farm these guys going up to the K line. It doesn't usually require that much external spotting. So yeah, so if enemies are going over there, they can get farmed. So this is where you'll notice too on Sand River is a good example of actually flank cooperation, which is a video I made a while ago. You can see that here, for example, is a great example. We have a couple mediums over here on the K line, or whatever, and we also have allies in the middle. So basically, the allies in the middle are keeping these guys lit for us while we farm them on the ramp. Now, usually they would back up pretty fast, but sometimes they don't, and you can farm them for much longer periods of time. Just, of course, have to remember the artillery. If you are going to be lit in this position, which there's a good chance you might be, you just have to be careful of artillery. But yeah. You can see pretty good spotting, or pretty good damage. So this again doesn't require the kind of spot I'm doing here. I just YOLO'd up just to see how far I could see with the render range and the spotting range. You don't actually have to go here. You can just sit by that rock basically, or sit anywhere around the buildings and just shoot these guys. Anyone that doesn't take the safe route over here is going to get farmed really badly, especially if you have artillery on your team. So yeah, you can spot these guys. I wouldn't go to this rock though. I just wanted to see how far my spotting range actually could reach. You don't need to go remotely this far. So yeah, pretty good, some initial damage there. So if you have a light tank or medium tank going over here for some spots, they can usually detect a lot of tanks coming over towards the castle side. And if your allies can aim, you will get a lot of assisted damage as well. But yeah, you just basically sit back there on the ridge line. The better the depression you have, the safer it'll be. You can just sort of sit and back down if you do get lit. But yeah, it gets you lots and lots of assisted damage. This tall grass here seems to protect you a little bit. But in general, it's very difficult to be lit unless, and again, an enemy light tank YOLOs or something like that. So yeah, but it does allow your allies or you to get some initial damage. So if no one does that spotting run though, I would recommend doing it because the assisted damage will give you a lot of XP and mark gains, I guess, from assisted if you're going for that. So this is Overlord from the north, and you can just come over here and get some initial damage. It's safest, I guess, in the Russian mediums because their profile is so low, but the 50B, you can come up here and get some damage as long as you're careful. Yeah, there shouldn't be any TDs or anything, just should be heavy tanks moving over here, and you can just farm them if you can aim. So that's going to bounce because that's AP and a little bit angled, so Ripperinos. But yeah, a little bit of early damage that you can get on Overlord. You can do it from the other side, it's just not as effective because there's a lot more cover that you have to worry about, so yeah, just not as effective. So this is Paris, and you can actually get some early damage here. It's okay, I guess. You don't actually need a spotter to do this, I just did it. But yeah, you can sit there and usually sometimes catch a slower tank, and then you can move up a little bit, and as they sort of cross into the next open space, you can also shoot them. So you'll see that I'm not actually spotting them here. You can see them crossing again. That's not my spotting. So you don't actually need a spotter. You just sort of sit here and get a couple shots off per game. If you're in a medium, it's nice because obviously this map is really not easy to play as medium. If you're not a heavy tank, this map can be quite difficult. So now this one I think does require a bit of extra spotting. So you can sort of go over here and chillax. And get some spotting, and yeah, so you can sort of catch them as they're crossing, which can get you some initial damage. Also, I think you can catch artillery sometimes if they decide to move over there, but usually they move into the north, so you're not going to see them, but maybe. So I'm going to make a move here that would never really work in a pub match because the enemy would spot you from their position, but Yeah, they actually can't see me here though as I see them crossing, so if there were a rare situation where this would be possible, you can sit here and just sort of spot them as they cross, and yeah, even firing at them, they won't actually see you, so pretty crazy. But yeah, but like I said, like in a pub match, this wouldn't be doable, this position here, because you would just get lit. So yeah, it's not exactly ideal to be in that position on a pub match, but I thought I'd show it just in case you want to check out some late game position. If all the enemies are in the south maybe, and you have north control, I don't know, maybe it's useful. So yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, there's more positions, but that's most of the initial damage positions. You know, you have like some, you know, you can go on the mines hill and just sort of wait for them to climb, or the beginning of the hill, the base of the hill, and watch them climb and things like that. But otherwise, that was most of them. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I want to say a big thanks to all the guys that helped me in the training room. It was a big help. I have lots of video ideas, but a lot of them require people to help me in training rooms, so it's really cool to get some people to help me. So a big thanks to those guys.